the whole equation of anti-Semitism with Islamophobia is illegitimate. Anti-Semitism has a very long record. Anti-Semitism goes back to before Christianity. And you have some pagan Greek writers talking about the Jews in a disparaging and negative fashion and retailing false stories about their practices. And then you have Christian anti-Semitism, you have Islamic anti-Semitism, you have the anti-Semitism coming from the left, which is very sparsely recognized. Karl Marx himself equated the Jews with capitalism and spoke about how the very existence of Judaism had to be eradicated in order to war against capitalism. And of course, you have National Socialism and on and on and on. And on the other side, what do you have? You don't have any long history of discrimination against Muslims. And even today, when there's so much hysteria about Islamophobia, you don't have discrimination on a large scale against Muslims or hatred or even these vigilante attacks against Muslims. For example, the FBI quite recently published its hate crime statistics for the past year. Now, they break it all down according to the alleged victim of the hate crime. Now, the whole thing is kind of a dicey, questionable exercise because there's no definition of what constitutes a hate crime. You know, if somebody comes into my office and beats me up, well, that would likely be a crime. If somebody comes into my office and beats me up while uttering racial slurs, then is that a different level of crime? Apparently it is. So the FBI has these hate crime statistics, and they break it down. Number one victim of hate crimes in the past year in the United States, guess. It was, of course, Jews. And the anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish hate crimes were at the top of the list. There were 1,071 hate attacks, according to the FBI, against Jews in the past year. And then you go way down, group after group after group, and it's not until eighth place that you see anti-Muslim, anti-Islamic hate crimes. And there were fewer than 200 of those. So there were more than, actually more than 7 times, there were actually over 7 times more attacks on Jews than there were attacks on Muslims. Now, no attacks on either are ever justified. And there were plenty of other groups that were also attacked, and none of those attacks are ever justified either. But the point is that to single out Islamophobia, and not to mention any of the others who, the other groups who are attacked on a far more frequent basis than Muslims are, and to equate that Islamophobia with anti-Semitism, it's not borne out by the facts. It's not borne out by the FBI's own statistics. And I can remind you that we're talking about the Obama-Biden FBI. This is a deeply corrupt institution that has no interest whatsoever in minimizing attacks against Muslims. As a matter of fact, given its current orientation, it would want to maximize the number of attacks against Muslims in order to justify the regime's attempts to criminalize Islamophobia. And yet, even by those statistics, you have a minuscule number of attacks on Muslims compared to attacks on Jews and others.